All right. Thank you. Good morning, South Africa. Good morning, community that's interested in UX in South Africa and around. I know there's people from outside of South Africa joining. I'm one of them, and maybe one of the presenters from the US or elsewhere has already joined. Good morning. Let me share my screen and start this off. Um, um, I think that as well as you think you're doing, you can do better. You can be a better designer by working together with others, by working better together with other designers, strategists, project managers, developers. And in today's session, I want to show you how you can potentially do that. Although the last bit is still up to yourself. You have to think of something that you need to do to make your process better, your design process better. It's going to be an interactive presentation. You will need pen and paper. You don't need to, but if you want to take part and want to prepare yourself for improving your process, you will need some pen and paper to do some scribbles. Why don't you grab that now? Every time you see one of these red lines around the slides, it's time for an exercise. I will play a little bit of music, and I'll give you like 1 minute or so to do an exercise. They're short exercises. Grab some pen and paper. In the meantime, I'll tell you something about myself. That's not the most important thing. It's probably not what you're here for, so grab some pen and paper while I blab on. Here we go. I am not Jane Austen. Jane Austen was on the program. She had to have a surgery today. It was pulled up. I just exchanged some messages with her. She wished me good luck. I wish her good luck with her operation. I am Peter Boersma, Dutch, live in Amsterdam. I've always, professionally, in my professional life, I've always lived in Amsterdam. I was born in 1970, so I'm old. My first computer was a Commodore 16. I studied computer science because people said I was good with computers. I liked my computer, but then I realized I'm much more into people than computers, so I added ergonomics courses to my computer science degree. In my first couple of years as a designer, as a professional designer, I realized that I'm a design process freak. I want to make the design process better where I work, and I've sort of expanded that to teach other people how to improve their design process. I've spent more than 20 years at interactive agencies, web agencies, mostly focusing on online services. And at the moment, I'm director of product design at ServiceNow, a company that makes work better by automating workflows online. All right. I hope you have pen and paper by now, because we're going to start. I think you can do better, and the key to this is improving your design process. Let's look at this word design. When I say design, I don't mean a design, not the object, the artifact itself. I mean to design, the art of designing, the creating of stuff in the environment where you work. So it's much more the process of designing than about where to put the pixels or where to put the closing HTML tag. So let's get that out of the way. And these 3 lines, to create a design in an environment and how you operate, are the 3 key parts of this talk. Let's start with design, and I want to make sure that you don't think of design as just pixels or pretty pictures. What is it that we as designers create? We create deliverables. And so for a while, I'll be talking about the objects, but mostly to show you that there are more than these standard couple of deliverables. Deliverables are like project management stuff. Ideally, nowadays, the focus is on output. It's not necessarily what you create, but what it does. But for that, you still need to create something. The end result is usually like working software or working services. And we in the meantime, make pictures of software. as part of what we do, but there are others around us that create stuff that is relevant for the end user experience as well. So here's the first exercise, and I'll play music for like half a minute or so. I want you to write down 10 UX deliverables. It's not homework. I'm not going to check your results, but if only in your mind, try to list 10 UX deliverables. If I go here, I'm going to give you some background music to list 10 deliverables, and I'm going to lean back. This is Elevator Classics number 4. All right, how was that? 10 UX deliverables. Now, my guess is that a lot of them are still focused on design, and that's okay. If you're doing user-centered design, then it's research, design, and evaluation, and going around in circles. So you might have written down personas or user research interviews or usability tests. If your mind is already pretty expanded, then you may have included some project management artifacts like roadmaps or estimates or project plans. If you're into the strategic part, when you're asked to think about long-term effects or how you're going to beat the competition, you may have written down some competitive analysis or roadmaps or strategies. If you're into who controls the money and how do we make money with this, you may have written down some business aspects that include things like how do we win this project, how do we get people to fund this project. If you're a process freak like me, you've talked about how all of these work together. You may have talked about reviews, you may have talked about handover documentation, or templates for processes to make you start faster. There's a lot of deliverables in each of these areas, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of them in the first part of this talk. Let's start with a pitch. So the pitch is how to convince people to fund your project, and for that you basically need to show them a treasure map. You need to show them that the people that control the money and can have the option to give it to you. You need to show them that you understand the terrain. You need to understand the map. You need to understand the area. You need to understand where there are barriers like seas or rivers or mountains. And you need to understand and convince them that you know where the treasure is. You know where the gold is. And you know where to dig. You know where to work hard to discover this money, to win the money back, basically, for the investment. That's part of your pitch. Another part of your pitch is showing that you understand the customer and that the environment that they are in, that your customers may need help, and that you, as a provider of a service, need to help them make the right choices. Your customer will also need to make tough choices. They may need to choose between investing in salespeople versus customer support people. If you create a different type of public website for them, you may need to automate. You may have a chance to automate a lot of work, and your employer or your customer can let people go. These are tough choices that your customers needs to make. Your customer need to make. That your end user need to make. And in your pitch, you need to be prepared and show that you understand these types of choices. It also helps to show Apple products. It's I don't know how or why, but it helps to show Apple products. In this case, of course, it's not about the products itself, it's about the ecosystem, but just show some Apple products and you'll be fine. I'm joking. In the strategy area, you may want to do competitive analysis. You may want to make sure that you understand the competition and that you help your customer understand the competition and that you just help together decide where you want to play. I've been using this example for a while, and this is the first time that I can actually use it in South Africa for a South African audience, and I'm super excited about this. You may be familiar with the South African car magazine, Car. Brilliant name. It's been around for at least 60 years, and there's a website for it as well. And in 2006, BMW put out an ad in this magazine congratulating Audi for winning the South African Car of the Year award, which is a weird choice. But then they didn't fail to mention that they were the winner, not of the South African Car of the Year award, but the World Car of the Year award. So that was BMW dissing Audi. Next month, still in 2006, Audi put out an ad congratulating BMW for winning World Car of the Year award, but they didn't forget to mention that they were winner of 6 consecutive Le Mans races. So they were highlighting the endurance of their cars, basically. Then Subaru the next month, they put out an ad. It looks like it's a spread double-page ad saying, nicely played, Audi and BMW, you're winning beauty contests. We are the winner of the 2006 Engine of the Year award. And if you can look at the picture, like half of the picture is the engine. They know that they play well in the engine area. And then next month, Bentley stepped in. That's all they had to do. A man in a suit on a nice leather couch raising his finger. This is Bentley understanding this is not where we play. We're there for the guys in suits who want to have like nice wooden steering wheels, actually somebody else driving, and I'm on the couch. These companies understand where they are strong, and they understand where the competition is maybe strong, and they know how to play with that. They know how to, in this case, through advertisement. This is something that you, as a designer and as your strategist, basically, need to understand as well. Where is the competition playing? Where are they strong? What are their weak points, maybe? And where can we play and where can we hurt them? This shouldn't be there, but this is forget about this one. Sorry, I deleted some slides to make it shorter. Research. This is where we get into the research, design, evaluation stuff. Research, about personas. You don't start with personas like this. You don't make them up. You do proper research. You interview participants in your research. You find out where they are different and where they are the same. So you discover key characteristics during the process, and each participant has its own line through these characteristics. But if you look carefully, or like take a step away, you may discover clusters of similar behaviors. And this is the cluster, assuming that these clusters are like consistent through these characteristics. You can separate these out into different personas. So you can say all of the ones are like this, all of the twos are like this, and then you spread them out or separate them out, and you have three different personas, each with different ratings on these characteristics. And then you can do this. Then you can say, this is Jana, this is Paul, this is Finn. You can add some demographics, fake demographics, but to make them as realistic, real, fake people as possible, with all the background information that you have. Bread and butter for most designers: sketches, detailed design, concepts, wireframes. You have a Sharpie, you have paper, You start with your 6-ups, you go into the 1-up, slightly more detail, make sure they have a title and everything, put them on the wall and review them with your team in a couple of rounds, combining the best elements for each to come up with the best potential design. Add more detail to it, annotations, different states of different components. It's still not a visual design, it's still a wireframe. And you can start low fidelity. You can start with Post-it notes for mobile solutions. This vertical Post-it note is perfect as a first sketch of a screen. You can okay. This is a very detailed example of a deliverable that I'm a proponent for. I think every designer at the start of their project should make concept maps that explain what are the things that are important here in this solution, what are the things that are shown that a user is exposed to, and what do we call them, and how do they relate to each other. This is a really detailed and like publication-ready version for the concept map of Flickr, the social photo sharing system. Here's one that I did with a startup. It's just a series of Post-it notes on a big board, but it was a startup for a music service where your mobile profile and a bar's profile would be matched, so that the bar would play music that their customers like. The user had a profile, the bar had a profile, there were some matching features, and then there was some stuff that was out of scope for the first release. And for us, when we looked at this collection of Post-it notes, this was the concept map, and it's fine if it looks like this for your team. Low fidelity is good. Moving over to the visual design part, you probably want to do a mood board at the start. This is a mood board, and usually if there's a live audience, I'll let them guess. It's for an indoor design magazine, so interior design magazine. This is not necessarily mood board, but going into a visual language for a publisher who had to publish about a lot of different topics. So in the end, they went sort of for a DNA type style where each topic had its own color. And if there was a book about 5 different topics, it would have the bands of these topics associated with them. You want to go into style guides. You want to document the dimensions of each element. Nowadays, this is controlled through design systems. So you want to be a part of the design system and make sure that all the components are captured in the design system for future reuse. So that's sort of the design stuff. I'll show you one more thing, evaluation. Of course, I'll show you 2 more deliverables and then we'll move on. This is not necessarily a good test. It's a focus group test where a lot of people are talking, ideally not at the same time, and there's a moderator and stuff. It has its uses. Ideally, you want to go for one-on-one usability tests with the moderator and a participant, and make them work with your prototype, or do even give them some triggers and ask them about their opinions. If you've done your test, if you've done your evaluation, you may want to write a report, but maybe something like this is enough, where it's a screenshot of a screen with green elements that work fine, orange elements that were sort of so-so, and red parts that really need improvement. This is a perfect alternative for a 15-page report according to a certain format. Okay, one more about launching. If you're a project manager, you want to lower the risk. So maybe you want to do a beta project, and even there, the designers need to be involved. They need to take part. They need to design some extra elements, and of course, they want to be part of analyzing the feedback, collecting the feedback. So here's the YouTube homepage from many, many years ago. Like I said, I'm old. But here at the top was a component that said, do you want to try a different YouTube homepage? And there's of course some content that makes people feel okay about trying this. If you hit this button, it will explain what you're about to get. It explains what the team is trying to find out, and then there's a big go for it. And then if you would have switched, there's again this line at the top that says that you're using the experimental version. Again, the wording of this is important. If you have any feedback, let us know. If you want to go back to the classic homepage, let us know. Both links actually will take you here to a little survey that asks how you felt about these changes, and some other demographic stuff. So here, designers need to be involved as well. And all of these artifacts that I've shown you, designers ideally are involved, and they definitely influence the final user experience as possible, from the budget, from the strategy, from even from the code. If the code is badly implemented, it will break in certain browsers, or it will have trouble with accessibility. If the code is slow, then you need to work around it as a designer and say, sorry, you need to wait a little bit. Why don't you look at this moving chicken or something? So that you have to work around this. All of these deliverables have their role. All of them influence the end user experience. So that's about creating designs. Now I want to take a step back and look at the environment in which a designer creates. And for this, we're going to have to look at org charts. And they may be scary, and they may be boring, and they may be the domain of like HR people and executive management. But we as designers need to understand our org chart. If you're an agency, you need to have your own company's org chart in mind, as well as that of your client, because if you're not talking to the wrong people that can't make decisions, you're talking to the wrong people. So why don't you draw an org chart? If you're in an agency, draw your own one, and maybe if you have time, one for your latest or current project. If you're in-house, draw the one for your company. If you're in a huge enterprise, it's okay to skip some levels. If you're in a smaller company, try to draw boxes for each of the departments, definitely the ones around design. Okay. If you're a freelancer, definitely do it for your last customer or your current customer. Again, I will give you 45 seconds. I'll play some music, and you draw an org chart. It's okay if it's ugly. Okay. Let's see if the music plays again. I think I was in between songs. Here we go. Okay. Org charts. The trick is, of course, where does design play a role in the org chart? Where does design live in the org chart? Are you placed in the right position? Do you have enough influence to influence these other people and these other people's artifacts? So let's look at where design can be. Design can be one of the departments. It could be like sales, design, and development or something, or sales, design and development and support, or manufacturing and design and sales or distribution. And that's okay. And it's sort of even. You're pretty central in the flow of work, and that's okay. It could be that you're a sub-department, then it gets already a little bit trouble to get the voice of the executives. You may have only limited interactions with the departments around you, and there may be departments that you hardly ever see who still might have an influence on the user experience. Like if the top right box is customer service and they get all the feedback from customers and all the customer complaints, and you don't hear them as a designer, then you're missing out on important information. It could be that design is distributed over multiple departments. That there is a marketing design department, a product design department, and like a I don't know, branding or packaging design department. If you're lucky, there's someone or a couple of people in control over everything, and the final end user experience over all of these channels is aligned. If you're unlucky, it's much more siloed. And if the branding people are working, or marketing and branding people are working totally separate from the product design people, then there might be definite disconnects in the messaging, in the tone of voice, in the promises that are being met or not. Silos are hard and really hard to break through, but you need to try. It could be that there's just a couple of designers spread out through the company. If the company is hardcore technology oriented, this might happen. If the company is hardcore like manufacturing or service oriented and everything is paper and forms, there may be only a couple of designers left. It could even be that you're like the sole designer in the company. And then events like this are great. You want to meet other people and complain about your bosses at events like this, especially if they're happening in real life. Now we have to find forums for doing this online. I'm happy to hear you complain about your boss in the Q&A. But go to events like this because it's horrible to be like the sole designer. There are books for this. There's a book like the UX designer of one. There are books called for UX Guerrilla UX. They help you at least get your knowledge up to date and tactics for doing this. It could be that you're outside freelancer helping somebody in a company. It could be that you're helping a department or a design department. That's also cool. Then you need to make sure that your friends inside have the right connections, and you may need to help them, point them to people that you should be talking to or they should be talking to. It could be that you're a freelancer talking to executives. At the end of this conference, you'll have Don Norman. That's what he does. He is basically a freelancer talking to executives, if he even needs the money anymore. But this is his operating model. Why don't you take 10 seconds to indicate where design is in your org chart and where you need to influence design. You may have fellow designers elsewhere. You definitely want to connect with them. And there may be people that you want to influence based on what I've showed you before. So where are the strategists? Where are the project managers? Are there researchers in a separate department? Who are the people that control the money and that you need to pitch your ideas to? I'll play 15 seconds of Elevator Classics again, and then we continue. All right. All of this you can do again later and maybe with your team, okay? That's the environment, the org chart. Where do you live as a designer? Now the final part is how do you operate? And this will go fast. How you operate is all about, so it's not about these deliverables. It's about the process. And I encourage you to first of all document your current process, and when you decide to change it, keep it up to date. Always have your current document process documented. Why? Well, you need to, as a team, agree and what things are called. Is it a wireframe? Is it a blueprint? Is it a mock-up? Is it a comp? Is it a wire flow, a screen flow, a sitemap? All of these things, you need to agree on the right words, on the words that you agree to use. You want to make sure that your design deliverables are linked with other people's deliverables or other people's processes, that the input is right, that the output is right, that there's no gaps in the handoff. You can increase your efficiency if you standardize. If your wireframes always look the same and always have a similar table of contents, you can create a template for it and only invest time to make it look good and work well, and then focus on the content the next times or the next 10, 20, 50 times. If you have a documented process and you have new people joining, you can give them the documentation and say, this is how we work. Now go do it just like us. Of course, you want to hear from them if they have ways to improve it, but it gets them up to speed faster. If you have a documented process, you have places in your documentation, in your process explanation, where it shows where your outside stakeholders need to be involved, where you need go, no-go decisions from others, what happens if you need to escalate, where the handoffs are. You can explain your process. And finally, you can start measuring it. If you've standardized your way of working, you can start measuring things, see where there are gaps, see where there are exceptions, see where everything is always the same, so you can improve it. And that's the end goal. What does process documentation look like? Well, you can start with just a sketch. We're designers, so we can do this, right? We can sketch our process. Sketch your current process. This can be like a couple of boxes with arrows in between, like we do this first, do that first, do that first. It can be people and they do this and they do this, they do this. If you have anything that happens in a certain order, sketch it. I'll give you 45 seconds it's your process or your team's process. Do a quick sketch of how you think you work. Playing music. Starting timer. Here we go. Okay. If you do this as an exercise, I encourage you to do it with your team or with your fellow designers to start with. Just get Sharpies, Post-it notes, and put stuff on the walls. Everyone puts their own deliverables or activities on the wall as a start. And then you can do things like we do mostly these first, and these in the middle, and these one last. And then you can say, well, there's a good phase ending. You add phases to the work. They're basically your go, no-go decision. Do we know enough? Are we confident to go to the next phase? It could be that you gather requirements and do your research, so you can develop personas in phase one, or you can give these phases names. User research phase, a concept design phase where you document your design principles and create a sitemap or a screen flow, then do detailed designs, and then finally do usability tests and prototypes. You probably want to do this usability evaluation even after your concept design. So you may move these boxes around for certain projects, but at least you have the work defined, the phases defined, the names defined. You're good. You've done two very important steps in documenting your process. It's okay if, and again, it's okay if it's ugly. I saw that this phrase is catching on. It's okay if it's ugly. It's okay if it's 8 post-it notes on a whiteboard for a while. If you want to do more, you can make a nice diagram out of it. This is basically the same diagram, 4 phases, and then some launching and measuring. You can do 5 phases and list the deliverables in each of these and add some circles. This company is really fond of usability tests. I think in every phase they want to do usability tests. You can make it look beautiful and make it clear that initially there's a lot of potential options and there's a lot of work to be discovered. Then you do design and bring down the number of possibilities, and then you deliver, and there's like high quality final deliverables of one solution. I think Flo developed this design process diagram. This is same colors, and it's got win in super big friendly letters. But it's, again, phases that are sort of vertical, and then lists of deliverables or activities that they can do, with the biggest one highlighted. They had some really good visual designer work on this. It can look like this as well. Probably not the best visual designer in the world. It can look like this. Yes, this went fast. A lot of companies have already done this, and I'm trying to encourage you to also do it. Don't steal from somebody else. Just do your own. If you want even more, there's this guy called Keynote, who collected 372 definitions of user experience, and it includes a lot of diagrams of process flows. I'll share these slides afterwards. Look up this thing. If you're a process freak like me, or a definition freak like me, or if you want to get inspired of how other people think of user experience, look at this deck. Like I said, all of these diagrams of process flows, or process diagrams, look different, and it's for a good reason. They're all for different teams. You should create your own. And like I said, it's okay if it looks ugly. It's fine. If you've done this, you've done the first 2 steps of Peter's 10-step program of documenting your design process. Here are 3 more. You want to describe each of these activities and their input and outputs. You want to present your process to the rest of the company and get feedback and improve it. You want to create templates and instructions for how to create your deliverables. You want to update the diagram again, because probably in doing that 6th step, you realize you need to change some things. You want to promote your process, both internally and outside of the company. You want to send your salespeople out with slides that describe your way of working, and it will get them closer to wins. You want to measure and evaluate how it feels. Are we really more efficient now that we have these templates? Are there parts where we can develop better, where we can tweak our way of working? Because you want to continue to improve your process. Okay, and that's where we're getting there. I know this talk was called Improve Your Process, and we're almost there. Because Improve Your Design Process was the title, and that means that there is a 4th step that you need to do. You don't just need to create, not be aware of your environment, you don't need to document your process, you need to continue improving. And that's actually pretty simple, or at least creating, for me, it's pretty simple to explain how to do it. Because a plan for improvement of your design process basically says, I'm going to do something together with somebody else, another role, and that could be one of these other people in this circle. It could be strategists or business people. It could be you need to figure out where they live in the process, in your org chart. You want to change a part of the process, so you need to decide which deliverable or which phase you want to focus on for this particular plan. You want to improve a certain metric, so you want to make sure that your improvement is measurable. And we haven't talked about metrics yet, so 2 slides about metrics. Metrics for a design are things like product usage. Is the product, is the website, is the online service, is the app actually being used? If it's being used, then it works for people. The number of complaints and compliments. If you used to have complaints and the complaints go down, you did a good job. If people were quiet and now they're giving you compliments and you're being noticed, you're doing it right. If the value of your brand, of your company's brand, of your products is going up, and this can be measured with things like NPS, you're doing a good job. As a design team, you want to make sure that you deliver on time and that you deliver within budget as much as possible. If there are reasons to go out, you better have good reasons why you're not on time and not within budget. This is one of the things why measuring is so important. You want to be efficient and effective. You want to make sure that your deliverables or your work lands well. If people complain about you delivering stuff that that isn't useful, or that's just pretty pictures and we need like specs, then you're not being effective or efficient. If your colleagues value you, and this can be done again by internal surveys, you're doing a good job. So you may want to focus on one of these metrics while you're drafting a plan for improvement. And you need to pick a deadline. Try to be realistic. You need to do this on top of your regular work, or you need to ask permission to spend time on this. But it could be as by the end of the day, or it doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time. The trickiest thing is I will do something, because that's about you. It's not about me. So when you write a plan, you pick somebody to work with, you pick a part of the process, you improve, you pick a metric that you want to improve, and you determine how much time you're going to take for this. And then you know what you can do. You still need to do the work. This is homework. I'm not going to ask you to write a plan, but like I said, if you pick the first, so the last four, you have a hint at what you could do. You probably have a hint already in your mind what you can do. And that way, you can keep improving. Sorry, this is not just a one-time effort. You write a plan, you execute the plan. You may already, in the meantime, develop more plans. You may want to update your documentation like twice a year or something. You need to this is work, and you may want to have somebody in your team be responsible for this type of work, so that temporarily or part-time, this is part of their responsibilities. You can even, if you have a large design team, make someone responsible for this. Then you get into the DevOps territory, which is a whole nother talk. But I encourage you to always have one or two or three of these plans just ready, so that when you have an opportunity to improve your process, you have a plan, or you have at least a draft of a plan, and you can work together with others to say, hey, let's work on this. Let's improve our cooperation between research and design. Let's improve the cooperation between designers and project managers, or project owners, product owners. Let's improve on our way we pitch. You can always have a plan to improve. I encourage you to always keep improving your design process, because you can do better. That's me. Thank you very much for your attention, UX South Africa.
So we have a few questions in the ask question component.
Cool.
We need the first one. So the first one's from Justin. How can we emphasize the value of the design process in an agile environment and not be forced to skip steps for the sake of the deadline?
If you're developers, or if the agile environment is truly agile, after every sprint or every couple of sprints, you have retros where you can have a chance to explain that because you skipped a process or skipped a certain step, something's went wrong. And if the people care about quality, they will listen to you and change it for the next time. So Agile has its ways of being flexible, improving the situation, through things like retros, where you can define action items, and one of these action items could be developing one of the plans that I showed you a template for. So it is a matter of partially educating the rest of the Agile team on what the effect is of skipping steps and or shortening steps. That's the short version. I mean, there's longer versions that say you can do big design up front and make sure that developers are involved there as well. Not going to go into that one as well. I'll leave it at this. If there's more questions afterwards, reach out to me and we can do a more detailed answer. So,
sure.
Did I mention I haven't had coffee yet?
I think after, I mean, we're almost done. I think there's only one more question, and you can definitely grab a few coffees for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
So the next question, I can't see who it's from. It's Justin as well. In a fast-paced world, how do we decide what deliverables is more important than others? Is there a way to prioritize or customize a process to get an effective result or solution?
You must customize like you can have a predefined process, but it only works for 80% of the time, and that's also thank you Jacob for the coffee. It only works for 80% of the time, and that's on purpose. There are always exceptions. You always need to change. You need to make it a modular approach. Every deliverable needs to be made like in a small, medium, and large version, which is part of documenting your process. What does a small version look like? What does the medium? What does the large version look like? Every process calls for a different set of deliverables. Sometimes your customer may have already done user research. If you're lucky, they've actually done user research and not market research, or not just like how can we convince them to buy, but also what are their pain points, what are their current online behaviors, where are they lacking support. If they've done that well, then you don't need to do your personas. You don't need to do research. If they have a well-established, or you have worked with them before, and you have a design system, and you have a well-established visual language, tone of voice, style guide, you don't need to reinvent the wheel for this one project. So you're as much as you want, you're never complete with your documentation. There's always at least 20% that you need to tweak for every project, and you need to be smart at it. You need to realize that it's a tool belt that you can grab from, and you don't need every tool for every job.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. So we've got another question. This is by Ashni. Should design ops be fulfilled by someone who has a UX design background, or an individual from a project change operation management background?
Good question. The experts don't agree yet. In my opinion, it helps if you've felt the pain, if you know how to feel the pain of the designer. So that means you need to be a good researcher. You need to understand what designers go through, or learn to understand what they go through and where they need help. But then you need to organize the work. So at ServiceNow, we have our DevOps teams has program managers who attack certain parts of the work, and they are more the organizers. They're more the business project managers. But we also have design experts, people who know which tools are out there. So I don't know. I'll just tell you, we've been a sketch company for the last couple of years, and we just yesterday had an announcement that we will be making a switch to Figma, which means that 300 researchers, designers, writers, and all of our product managers, and others, developers, need to suddenly be confronted with Figma screens, URLs, navigation, whatever, and it's a huge operation. So we have a program manager who will control this, but we've had teams of designers help with that decision, which tool will be best for designers. We've had developers, of course, chime into this as well, because it's all about design developer handoff. So it's a mix. As a designer, you can only say it depends a couple of times a day. So I'm going to say it's a mix. It's not.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you. So we have three more questions. The next question is by who's this? Lindsay. And I can also quickly partly answer. So the question is, will we have access to the slides after the session? So just a quick thing is that the session is recorded and the video will be made available in a few days via YouTube. But if you want access to the actual slides,
I can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll put them on slides here. I'll let at least the organizers know where they are, so they can be distributed.
Sure. Thank you. And the next question, this is from Carter. What advice do you have if a UX designer you have to fight for development? Or what advice do you have if, as a UX designer, you have to fight for development time? Sorry.
Fight for development time?
Yeah.
As in personal development? If the person who asked the question can clarify if it's about personal development in the chat, or if it's about like code development time, that would be great. So personal development, it's a matter of negotiating. I think every smart company gives their employees time and/or money to do personal development, relevant personal development. If you want to do a course in creative welding, code development, good. I'll stop quickly. If you want to do a course in creative welding, probably not funded by the company. If you want to learn about design strategy, yes, relevant. Okay, code development time. This is okay. Should designers code? This is classic debate. Apparently, Kara wants to code. Let's see. I personally feel leave it to the experts. I know, coming from me with a computer science background, I try to do as little computer science as possible, because I realized I'm not the best. I will never be the best expert, or not even in the top 10, top 50 ever. So you need to make sure that that you want to do this, and you think you're good at it, and you want to make it part of your job. At the start of every project, I, as a manager of designers, want to make sure that the designers get something out of the project. Whether it's playing a certain role, like a lead designer role, or being the presenter of work, also on behalf of others, or work closer with developers and understand how they work, and even maybe do part of that work because they want to develop in that area. So at the start of every project, when you man the project, when you determine which resources get assigned to which project, I want to make sure that people have a chance to develop. If you as a designer can indicate to your manager or whoever assigns you to a project that this is something you want to do, if they're a good manager or a good colleague, they will pick the projects for you where you can do this. Sometimes it's just a matter of guerrilla and just sitting down with the developer and doing part of it and watching over their shoulders. Sometimes it's evening projects or outside projects. I don't want to go in there. I don't think it should be necessary. I think as an employer, you should be able to provide these kinds of opportunities for people to develop themselves. I hope that answers your question a little bit, Kara. Otherwise, we can do it again outside through Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just mindful about time, Peter.
Yes.
So, I mean, what I can maybe suggest is that if you're in Carter, or if there are maybe an extended answer, I mean, you guys can one-on-one or chat about it in the chat. I think chatting about it obviously opens up for more conversation with the other attendees, and that's always awesome.
Yep.
But thank you so much for the awesome talk, for the time. It's thoroughly valued. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And good luck with everyone in their community, in the UX community. I want to make sure that UX communities thrive all over the world, and this event helps that. So, cool.
Thank you.